And Doctor Who continues to educate us. Why do I get the feeling that we wouldn't be getting the same level of education if the subject was, say, Christianity? The subject this week was the partitioning of India in 1947. A central question is, why is Doctor Who focusing on Islam? Or at least, why is Islam a central focus for this week's episode? It doesn't take much of a stretch of the imagination to figure this out, but before I proceed, it's time for one of my many disclaimers. Just like race, gender, and sexual orientation, I don't care what your religion is. You can subscribe to atheism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Judaism. Your religion isn't anybody's business but your own. What I do have a problem with is when your religion starts to impact or harm other people. Every religion has been guilty of negatively impacting other people of varying degrees depending on the time frame. Nobody would argue that Christianity hasn't committed many atrocities over time, and 10 to 15 years ago, many people were expressing concerns over the rise of evangelical Christianity, and for a period, atheism flourished. Then atheism got taken over by NPCs, and now we don't hear a whole lot about either movement. In 2018, we are in a completely different climate than we were in, say, 2005. It's a completely different world now. Immigration is a major concern for many people in many countries. Local populations are being displaced by people with religious affiliations that are completely incompatible with the Western world and Western way of life. Not only are people, mainly white people, being displaced, but they are told that they are evil and deficient. The white man has become the villain of choice in all NPC narratives. Why? Because it's easy. Why is this relevant to Doctor Who in 2018? Well, once upon a time, London was probably one of the whitest cities on the planet, a crime of monumental proportions in 2018. Apparently. Now, half the population has been displaced or removed. London, along with other major cities, like Paris or Toronto, has become part of a massive social experiment. Completely incompatible cultures are being forced to live side by side. Let's also be clear. Islam is not a race. It's a religion. Anyone of any race can identify as Muslim. This has nothing to do with race. It has to do with ideology. The progressivist agenda, however, has managed to find a way around this. We are now seeing the term racialized coming up quite often, and it is now being actively used in diversity quotas. In essence, governments are now giving preferential treatment to certain religious groups, which is becoming part of the replacement process. Part of the replacement process, as I've stated, is the vilification of males, whites, and Christians, while at the same time, the official line seems to be praising the religion of peace. The amusing part of this is that most NPCs have never really taken a close look at what this religion actually entails. Knowledge goes against their programming. Why is this relevant to Doctor Who in 2018? Well, the BBC, as a governmental institution, is part of this replacement process. There was a time when the BBC was the envy of the world, and classic BBC programming includes most programming up until about 4 or 5 years ago. Then it transformed, seemingly overnight. It's no longer an institution that provides world-class television. It is now nothing but a medium for propaganda. The BBC Diversity and Inclusion Strategy was the final step in this process, which provided a clear policy of racial and gender discrimination. At the same time, the BBC has also adopted wholeheartedly certain ideologies. Most of what we've seen in series 10 and 11 of Doctor Who has been a direct result of this strategy. Demons of the Punjab is an example of this. Historical locations have generally been used as a backdrop for Doctor Who stories. In episodes like this, or Thin Ice, or Rosa, the historical location is no longer a backdrop to the story. It becomes the story. This is why there is very little to the story itself. Demons of the Punjab has a single purpose: to advertise a certain religion, a religion that is incompatible with the West, a religion that many of its NPC supporters do not actually understand. Again, I fully support your freedom of religion. I don't support Horndor's publicly funded attempts at evangelizing your religion to an often ignorant public. There is very little to Demons of the Punjab beyond this aim. The plot is kind of a ripoff of Father's Day. Yaz decides that she wants to explore her grandmother's past, so we head off to India, the day before the partition. I guess the Doctor forgot about the Reapers. Who cares about time-eating monsters when you have to contrive a plot? We get a story about interfaith marriage and death, and Yaz getting concerned when she learns that there is a possibility that she might not be 100% Muslim. The plot was exceedingly dull. Vinay Patel seems to be so interested in giving us an episode about religion that he forgot to make it even remotely interesting. We meet the villain, the Jarians, or something like that, who turn out not to be villains. Oh, What a twist. They are there to witness people who die alone. Really, guys, why did you even bother including them? It's as if they are saying, no, this show hasn't become a little more than NPC propaganda. See, we still have monsters that we literally just throw in at random. The acting in this episode, once again aside from Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole, was complete crap. Obviously, every guest actor in this episode was the result of BBC quota casting. One could say, well, yes, of course it is. This episode takes place in the Punjab. Well, it was the producers that decided to put this episode in the Punjab, and that also doesn't excuse the fact that most guest actors this season that weren't villains or pregnant have been the result of quota casting. This episode is a prime example of not caring about whether or not a person can act as long as they fit into the right category. Honestly, guys, you could at least find people with even a modicum of acting talent. Back to the main cast. I've said many times that I have no issue with Ryan or Graham, and nothing more needs to be said there. They are both excellent actors, and it's too bad that their talents are being wasted on this crap. But Yaz, Christ, I can't stand this character. She is only there to fill a gender, racial, and apparently religious quota. Mandeep Gill is also not a very good actress. I find myself cringing every time she appears on screen. She is definitely Modern Who's Adric. Why is she there? Never mind. We all know why she's there. Then we have the 13th Doctor herself, and my god, this is without a doubt the worst interpretation we have ever had of the Time Lord. This has nothing to do with gender. Whittaker just sucks. To use the example I've already used to death, but I use it because it's a good example. If someone like Olivia Colman were in the role and the focus wasn't on hating white men, I think many of us would have been won over by now. I've said in previous videos that Whittaker was good at what she's done in the past, but she really only seems capable of playing the same character, mopey and sad. It seems pretty clear that this is all she's capable of, because her interpretation of the Doctor is horrendous. It's not that, at times, we can see her acting, we can tell she's trying way too hard every second she's on screen. The quote, quirkiness is not quirky. It's just annoying. Why? Because she can't pull it off. The facial expressions are still just weird and out of place, and she still looks like she's constantly constipated. And my god, do I hate the sound of her voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Now let's delve into personality. Each incarnation of the Doctor has had his, oh, don't so many of you hate me for using that pronoun, own unique personality. Until now. What we seem to have with Doctor 13 is some mutated and terrible hybrid of Doctors 10 and 11, or more like a very sad interpretation of 10 and 11. For example, when she uses Tennant's "I'm so sorry" line in this episode, it becomes painfully clear that she is so not on the level of Tennant that it's kind of astounding. Chibnall and friends said she wowed them during her audition. I say, wow, you guys really suck at identifying a suitable actor. Probably why most of the guest stars this season sucked. And the music. The incidental music was fine, but why the hell did you change the closing theme again? Chibnall, this is your ego again, isn't it? You're saying, look at this important lesson my category higher writer gave us today. Aren't I wonderful for letting him do this? At least he didn't give himself a writing credit this time. In closing, here we are, 6 episodes into Series 11, and I think I can safely say that this is by far the worst season of not only New Who, but of Doctor Who in its entirety. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And that's it for today. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and check out my other channel. And as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a great day.